Good morning, everyone. This is the Allen Care Show. I am Elisa Walker from Allen Hospital in Waterloo. The Allen Care Show is now in our 10th year here on KBBG, and I would like to say thank you to all of my monthly listeners. We have spent a lot of time in the past discussing heart disease, and today we'll talk about a different illness that affects your overall health and can also increase your risk of heart disease. The topic today is diabetes. We have some information about how diabetes affects the heart and how you can help a friend, family member, or even help yourself. My very special guest today is Becky Dumler. Now, Becky is a registered nurse in the Allen Hospital Heart Care Program. Becky is here to talk about signs and symptoms of diabetes, how it affects other functions of your body, and what treatment you can receive from Unity Point Health and Allen Hospital. Good morning, Becky. How are you today?
Good morning. So glad to be here.
Before we get started talking about diabetes, tell our new listener audience a little bit about yourself and the expertise you bring to us today.
Well, I have worked at Allen Hospital a very long time. And I have worked in the heart program for a long time, and I work on Two Heart, and this is an outpatient area that we get people ready and take care of people after they've had a heart procedure.
Great, and we're going to, well, I should say you're going to provide some information on how diabetes and heart kind of correlate. So this is going to be a very, very important show, and again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join me today. Becky, tell me, why are we here today? I know we're going to be discussing about diabetes and how it affects you. What other information we'll be sharing with our listeners?
Well, we're going to discuss diabetes, and I've seen so many diabetic heart patients that I thought this would be a good topic today. Everybody, I'm sure, that's listening to me, either you yourself have diabetes, somebody in your family, or a friend. So I'm sure you know somebody with diabetes. And I want to raise the awareness of what the signs and symptoms are. Because a lot of times when diabetes goes untreated, that's when all this damage is occurring. Yes. And then we'll finally connect diabetes to heart and what happens.
Great. You know, you made a very important statement when you said either you, yourself, you might know someone. It's just like cancer. For some reason, someone has been affected by this disease.
It really is.
And Becky, let's start right at the basics. How can you explain exactly what diabetes is?
Well, diabetes is when your glucose or sugar levels are too high. And you have to have glucose in your body, so it's one of those things you need. And glucose is a form of sugar, and it will come from foods that you eat, and it's also made in your own liver and your muscles. Your pancreas will release this hormone, and it's called insulin, and I'm sure everybody's heard of insulin. But what that does is help carry the glucose to all the cells of the body, and the reason we need glucose is this is what our energy comes from, is glucose. And when you have problems with this whole process or deficiencies, it will determine whether you have type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes.
Okay, and I want to back up when you said glucose is a form of sugar that comes from food. So it's very important to know what how much sugar is in things that you're eating. That's because right. Sugar's in almost everything.
Well, or it's added. You know, that's what makes foods that are produced help their taste, is they put sugar in. So yeah, it's reading labels and know what you're supposed to have.
What is the difference between type 1 and type 2? Because a lot of times, you know, I hear from patients that, well, I have diabetes, but I don't know if it's type 1, if it's type 2. So Becky, what exactly is the difference between the two?
I'm going to talk about type 1, type 2, but I also want to just throw out there that when some women are pregnant, they will develop diabetes, and after they deliver the baby, then it's gone.
Okay.
And so they can have like a gestational diabetes, and I'm not talking about that today, but that is out there, but that is also treated during that time, just like they have diabetes.
And that's specifically pregnant women.
Pregnant women,
Okay.
right. Okay, so sometimes your body will not produce enough insulin, and remember, insulin is the key ingredient to help regulate this blood sugar.
Okay.
And so cells cannot absorb the glucose, and so this would be type 1 diabetes. And this accounts for probably 5 to 10% of the people who have diabetes. And this can really not be prevented. This is what you'll see a lot of times when kids are little, type 1. You know, if they've had some problem with the pancreas and stuff like that, it'll usually be type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, this is the most common, and this is when you have enough insulin, but your body's not able to use insulin in the right way. And this will become apparent during adulthood. Type 2 diabetes in children is also rising, and with kids being very obese, that is why type 2 is increasing in children. This one, type 2, and this is this is a good thing. Okay, I've got diabetes, but this can be prevented, or it can be delayed with a healthy lifestyle.
And I know a lot of patients that I see tend to have type 2 diabetes, and when we talk about, creating a healthy lifestyle, eating more, good foods per se, they are kind of like, well, I didn't know that it was preventable. And they think that just because they have type 2, that automatically it's going to lead into type 1.
Right. Sometimes, it does cross the line, but usually, if you look at their families, they will have diabetes type 2 in the family, and a lot of their eating habits are a lot like what their parents were, their grandparents.
Sure,
and so a lot of things that way are inherited too.
And even when we talk about childhood obesity, which is on the rise, there's so many media commercials, media things, like First Lady Michelle Obama has a Let's Move campaign. So I think it's so much different where kids are more secondary now, and they're in the game system, they don't want to go outside and play, so I would suspect that would contribute to the increase in childhood obesity too.
Right, kids just don't get outside and play like what, their parents used to do, so, yeah.
Now Becky, what are the symptoms of diabetes?
Okay, the symptoms are sort of, the first three things I say should be the triggers that something's wrong.
Okay.
You'll be extremely thirsty, and it's like water just tastes so good, and you're drinking a lot of water. You'll be very hungry. You're always hungry. You're always eating. And then you'll have frequent urination because of the things. So those three things right there are like you'll get that early on.
Kind of go hand in hand, especially the frequent urination and the thirst.
Right. Very tired, fatigued, you don't have energy to do much. Losing weight without trying, that's always a signal to your health provider that something's not right. Because, this losing weight and eating, you should maintain a healthy weight or what your weight should be. But this one, you'll just lose without trying.
Okay.
Sores that heal slowly. You just think, boy, this sore on my hand should be gone by now, and it's not.
Okay.
Dry, itchy skin. Diabetics will always have dry, itchy skin. Some people, when they've had diabetes for a while and it has not been diagnosed, will feel like there's pins and needles in the feet.
Wow.
When they walk. And then another later sign is blurry eyesight. Blindness is can be a real complication of diabetes.
Wow, these are some very important symptoms. Now, Becky, let's kind of connect the dots here. How are heart disease and diabetes connected?
Well, first of all, people that are diabetics are really 5 times more likely to develop heart disease than someone who doesn't. You don't have to have diabetes and heart disease, but we see a lot of patients diabetic that develop heart disease.
And why is that?
Well, there are times in a diabetic, even in a really controlled diabetic, that will have higher than normal levels of sugar in their blood.
Okay.
And that should be. Well, this high blood sugar, what it does to the artery, and remember, arteries always feed an area, keep it alive, it damages the walls of the arteries. And when this happens, then they're not smooth so the blood can go through, and this will let the fats that are found in the blood start collecting on the inside of the artery, and you get a plaque buildup. The plaque buildup then is going to narrow these vessels, and so the blood can get through, but it's it's not getting through real fast, and they can develop the heart condition called angina.
So very slow process.
Right, it is. And then, or if they get blocked completely, that's when your heart attack happens, and that's when you've got to be really hyper aware of what's going on and act quickly.
How does someone know when a serious heart problem has been triggered then?
Well, I always tell my patients the golden rule of heart is if you ever have pain, pressure, burning, fullness in the chest, arms, neck, jaw, or upper back, and it's gone on 15 minutes, that's a 911 call.
15 minutes,
15
magic
minutes.
number.
15 minutes is the golden rule. Other signs can be, besides the pressure, pain, burning, would be short of breath. And sometimes this is an early one, like you do things, you're raking the yard, and you never used to rake the yard, or you never used to be short of breath, and now you do a little bit, or go up the steps and you're short of breath. That's another one that you need to, pay attention to. Feeling dizzy, lightheaded, faint, unexplained excessive sweating. When they come in and they're having a heart attack, a lot of times they have a cold sweat.
Wow.
So, and nausea, vomiting.
Now, when you say pressure and pain, is there a difference between?
Well, it's how the patients describe them. Some will say there's more pain involved, but most of the people will say it's like an elephant has a foot on your chest.
Okay, so that would be more the pressure.
Pressure.
Okay. And the pain is just pain.
Right.
Okay.
So, like I said, never let these symptoms go longer than 15 minutes. And you're not going to drive, you're going to do the 3 A's. Aspirin, and aspirin is important because it takes the sticky out of the blood. So it's not going to have problems with the clotting. Call the ambulance, 911, and they'll bring you to Allen.
Now that we've touched on what diabetes is and how it can affect your heart, we'll discuss what you can do if it affects you or somebody else in your life. We'll do that after the break. This is the Allencare Show, a program devoted to healthcare issues for women and their families. When we return, we'll ask Becky to tell us more about diabetes and how it relates to the Allencare program. I'm Eliza Walker, and this is the Allencare Show right here on KBBG. Welcome back to the Allencare Show. I am Eliza Walker. Our special guest today is Becky Dumler, a registered nurse in the Allen Hospital Heart Care Program. She is here to talk about diabetes, your overall health, and how it affects your risk for heart disease. First, Becky, share some ways to prevent getting diabetes as an adult.
Okay, first of all, it's maintain a healthy weight. So you should know, and your doctor is just such a good source. You know how much, he'll tell you what your healthy weight should be, and try to just maintain it. Eat it sensible and enjoy a balanced diet, eating something of everything. Try to stay away from processed foods and foods that you buy, fast foods, because they'll have a lot of things in them that you shouldn't have. Exercise is a big component of diabetes. And know your family history. Know that if everybody gets it, that maybe you should go in and have blood tests drawn periodically to see how you're doing.
That is so true. And when you mentioned processed food, could you give some examples for our listeners? What would be considered like a processed food?
Well, like some of the cheeses, Velveeta cheese is, usually high in a lot of things. Just anything that does not come out of the ground or the earth.
Wow, okay.
It's better to eat fresh and natural foods.
Okay. Okay, so what if you have diabetes? What can you do to prevent heart disease?
Okay, the best way is to develop good habits and take care of yourself as well as your diabetes. So
Okay.
read up, know, have the knowledge on what you have and how to treat it. This will mean keeping your blood sugars normal. And, we can throw numbers out, but doctors might, for different reasons, give other people. But usually it's to keep blood sugars under 110.
Okay, 110.
The best way that you can also know is you can get what's called an A1C blood level. And this is a really neat blood test in that it'll tell the doctors how well your blood sugars have been managed over the last 3 months.
Oh, okay.
And so when you're first diagnosed with diabetes, this A1C probably won't be normal because you probably had diabetes for a while before it was caught.
Okay.
And then as you get on your diet, your A1C levels are going to come down, and the levels need to be less than 6.
Okay, 6 is the magic number.
6 is the magic number.
So let's say we've had 6 months of blood tests and their numbers are 7 1 month and then 8 the next month. Would they be considered?
Yeah, usually they'll draw them every 3 months, but if your A1C goes up, work with the doctor. Either your medications need to be changed,
Okay.
and you need to keep a tighter control on your blood sugars.
It's really important.
So it's really a neat guideline, I think.
What else is there in relation to your cardiovascular system?
A lot of diabetics will have high blood pressure, and so you need to control it with your medication and targeting 130, 120 over 80 or lower.
And this is particular for diabetic patients, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Get your cholesterol levels under control. Again, this would be controlled by your diet and medication. A lot of diabetics will have elevated triglyceride levels. That's another fat in the blood. And this one, again, if you watch your carbohydrates and sugars, this one will go down. Exercise is so important. It's important for our heart patients and it's important for our diabetics. I love to exercise diabetic patients because you can just see as they exercise and in a month, 2 months, their sugars come down so nice and their A1Cs look good. But anywhere, if you're somebody that cannot do a lot, 20 minutes a day would be great.
Okay.
Or do it a couple times a day. But if you could get it built up to 30 to 45 minutes a day, 5 to 7 times a week. Diabetics are a group of people that it's better if they could just go every day, once a day.
And we're not talking hard exercise.
No, just go for a walk or go for a bike ride. Because this will help the blood sugars a lot. Smoking, you quit. That's not good for any. I have not found one disease that likes smoking in the body, and that's just talk to your doctor. And if you have to get medication to quit, whatever you can do to quit, that will be good. And then, like I said, work with your doctor on what a healthy weight should be. Make a plan and stick to it. Diabetics, it's hard for them to lose weight. And I think they get discouraged. But just know that if you're exercising and your blood sugars are good, the weight will come. It just takes longer.
You know, I'm going to play devil's advocate right now, but that sounds like a lot of hard work to control and a lot of different things. I'm sure you probably have heard that.
It really does, but if you get you know, if you know what you're supposed to eat it, and then set a certain time of day that's gonna work. Some people it's early in the morning, some people after work, and just know this is your time for your walk, for your health, for your diabetes, and to help your heart. It works out good. Pretty soon, if you miss it, you feel guilty. So.
And so we all want to create a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
Okay.
The heart, when our diabetics come into the heart center and they're having a heart procedure done, you know, they are put on a diabetic heart healthy diet.
Okay.
So they combine the two diets.
Oh, good.
Which makes it good for them.
Can you give us some quick diet tips for those with diabetes, something that they can look forward to?
Well, think about carbs, and
Okay.
I can't stress enough about getting in with the dietitian and talking to them. They are
so important.
They are awesome with this. But you're going to start counting carbs and how much of it, what you're eating, how much you can have, and how many carbs it has. And a good thing to remember is try to eat carbohydrates throughout the day. Eat the same amount throughout the day. That would help keep the blood sugar from going up and down, up and down.
I think that might be the hardest part for some of our diabetic patients is counting carbs and exactly what is a carb. So again, I highly recommend meeting with the dietitian.
Yeah, Alan has so many good things, you know, to offer with their programs. And then there's several ways to balance what you're eating, and some will do the carb counting, and your doctor will tell you how many carbs you can have, and that you should eat per meal and per day. And others like to do the plate format, and this just means dividing your meal on your plate. Half of it will be vegetables, a fourth would be the protein that you're supposed to have, and the other fourth would be carbs.
Okay. So let's say if we have our carbs under control, what would be the next step?
Then you're going to add the healthy focus.
Okay.
Like choose foods that are high in fiber, low in cholesterol, saturated and low in saturated fats and salts. This means more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and the low fat would be, you know, like chicken, turkey, have that more than the beef and pork. And dairy would be going to skim products. This is taking the diet that you'd normally eat, and you're making it lower fat. But also eat more of the natural foods, like I said, that you'd find in nature, as opposed to the processed items.
What about like oils? Are oils good or bad for a person that's diabetic?
You need some oils. You know,
Okay.
they let you have oils. You know, not lard, not Crisco, but you're going to cook with oil instead of butter.
Okay.
And then if you need more cooking tips, again, work with this registered dietitian and your doctor. Your doctor can help you to also with, you know, what you should do, but hopefully he'll get you to a dietitian.
I know there's a lot of good oils, coconut oil, olive oil.
Right, and you know, they do the corn oil, you know, if it's liquid, that's what you want.
Liquid and not lard.
Not
lard, listeners, liquid. Speaking of doctors, why is Allen Hospital the place to go for these issues?
Well, Allen's always consistently been recognized as one of the top hospitals in the nation for cardiovascular disease. It's always, I think 2 years running, we've been in the top 50. The cardiologists at Allencare, for most of the patients in need of heart care, are treating many of them each year, making it the best for them. Allen is the only hospital in the Cedar Valley that does perform open heart surgery. So if you need surgery, you're already in the right place. And then again, another recognition that Alan had, not very long ago, we were just recognized as one of the top community value hospitals in the nation. And this would be for the service we provide and the efficiency at which we operate.
Vicki, our time is just getting away from us. This has been so informative for the listeners. How can people learn more about their risk for heart disease?
You can visit our website at unitypoint.org and click on the Alan Hardaware link from our Facebook feed, and it's on the left side of the page. And you can take a free, and it's a 7-minute online survey to test your own risks for heart disease. And as part of this survey, you can contact us to talk to us. There's no cost, there's no obligation. And if you would prefer, you can just call the Alan Hardaware, and I can give you that number, 235-3944. And I'll say that again, 235-3944. They're always happy to help you.
Becky, again, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come join me on the Alan Care Show today.
Well, I'm so glad to always be here and talk to the listeners.
You've been listening to the Alan Care Show, a show for women and their families. My very special guest today has been Becky Dumler, a registered nurse in the Allen Hospital Heart Program. We've been talking about diabetes, how it increased your risk for heart disease, and what you can do to stay healthy for yourself and for your family. Please join us Thursday, October 15th for my next edition of the Alan Care Show right here on KBBG FM. And thank you for listening.